and please follow alternating seating arrangement. Leave a gap of 1 seat between yourself. I repeat, follow alternate seating arrangement. I request everyone to please be seated and wear your masks mandatorily. Everyone is requested to start by filling the front rows and then going backward. I repeat, I request everyone to please be seated and start with filling the front rows. Thank you. I request everyone to please be seated. The event will commence in a few more minutes. Thank you. I request everyone to please be seated. The event will commence in a few more minutes. I request everyone to please be seated and start by occupying the front rows. The event will commence in a few more minutes. I repeat, I request everyone to please be seated and start by occupying the front rows. The event will commence in a few more minutes. Thank you. I request everyone to please be seated. The program will commence soon. I repeat, I request everyone to please be seated. The program will commence soon. I also request everyone to mandatorily have their masks on. I repeat, I request everyone to mandatorily have their masks on. Thank you. Everyone is requested to please put their mobiles on silent mode. I repeat, I request everyone to please put their mobiles on silent mode. Thank you. request everyone to please occupy the front rows. I repeat, I request everyone to please occupy the front rows. Thank you. I request everyone to please start occupying the front rows. I repeat, I request everyone to please start occupying the front rows. Thank you. I request everyone to please be seated. The lecture will start now. I repeat, I request everyone to please be seated. The lecture will start now. Thank you.
A very good evening to one and all. I am Bhavya. This evening we all are assembled here to celebrate 20 years of continuous human presence in the International Space Station. NASA and its international partners are constantly learning how to live and work in space. For almost 20 years since the Expedition 1 crew arrived on November 2nd, 2000, humans have lived and worked continuously abroad this space station. Till date, 64 expeditions happened and over 241 individuals from 19 countries have visited the International Space Station. An international crew of 6 people live and work while traveling at a speed of 5 miles per second, orbiting Earth about every 90 minutes. This is really a very proud moment and a milestone in humankind. On this noteworthy occasion, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Padma Shri Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad will be delivering a 3-day special lectures on the International Space Station. The first day of IIS lecture will cover fundamentals of manned machines, configuration and system details of IIS, the assembly sequence and the general working of the crew in IIS. So brace yourself to indulge in the most inspiring and significant lectures by Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad. Now, I call upon P. Sainath to present the guest profile of Padma Shri Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad.
Indian Space Research Organization is the vainglory of our nation that taught us sky is our limit. It was established by Vikram Sarabhai under the Department of Atomic Energy in 1962. ISRO is the primary agency in India to perform tasks related to space-based applications, space explorations, and development of related technologies. And today, it is our immense pleasure to have an eminent personality like Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad, who worked for ISRO from 1975 to 2015 in different centers and units. He retired from government service in May 2015 as Distinguished Scientist and Director of Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota, ISRO. Forthwith, Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad took up the charge of Vice Chancellor, Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research from 1st of July 2017. Prior to that, he was the advisor to the university for 1 year. Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad had served various executive positions during his 40 years of tenure in ISRO. During his long experience in Indian space program, Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad steered various activities and programs. He worked as Deputy Project Director and Project Manager in ASLV and SLV-3 projects at Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Trivandrum from 1975 to 1994. Later, as the Deputy Project Director, PSLV from 1997 to 1998. He even served as Associate Director, Satish Dhawan Space Center, SHAR, from 2008 to 2013, and as the Director, Satish Dhawan Space Center, SHAR, from 2013 to 15, and many more. He played a magnificent role in controlling all the launch vehicles from 2008 to 2015, and also created a number of new systems and processes in ISRO, which included new MCF at Bhopal, new mission control at SHAR. Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad represented ISRO and India in United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space for 11 years from 1995 to 2006. He had more than 40 publications in various international and national journals. He received his PhD in the field of satellite communications from Birla Institute of Technology and Sciences. He was honored with the Government of India Civilian Award, Padma Shri, for the year 2014. He was awarded with the honorary doctorate from Vignans University in the year 2014, JNTU Kakinada in June 2013, and Sri Krishna Devaraya University in December 2017. He was even recognized by the International Academy of Astronautical Laurels for Team Award 2013 for playing a key role in Chandrayaan-1 mission. He was elected as a member of International Institute of Space Law, Paris. He was even rewarded with the Outstanding Performance Award of ISRO in 2012. As quote says, the universe is in your bones, the stars in soul, it's never really an end. Sir, your never give up attitude leaves us awestruck. You are truly an inspiration to all the upcoming engineers of the country. With great zeal, I now request Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad to please step onto the dais and deliver the lecture. Sir, please.
Now I request Dean R&D, Dean Student Affairs MSS Rukmini, and Dean of the Department, Head of the Department of CSC to present the bouquet to Dr. M.Y.S.Prasad.
Oh, very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. తీసుకోండి. Thank you very much for that nice introduction. Dear friends, first of all, good afternoon to all of you. Deans, HODs, faculty, dear students, and a large number of participants who are listening to this lecture online across the country, from various parts of the country. I wish all of you once again good afternoon. You must be wondering why I am giving this lecture. Because this is not a program of ISRO. This is not a program of India. But why I am giving is, this Vijnan University is built with high standards by our chairman, Dr. Lavu Rattaya garu. He had also put values as very important. What are those values? One of the important values is cooperation. Cooperation at individual level, cooperation at teams level, cooperation at country level, and cooperation at international level. So these are the important values, and the International Space Station represents the global level international cooperation between a large number of countries. In addition, the topic on which I should talk to you should be of the standard of our university, and also it should be inspirational to you and informative to you. With these points, I decided the International Space Station is the best example to talk on. Here if you see, there is a picture of International Space Station just coming out from daylight into the night of it during its rotation around the earth, and these things represent the 5 important aspects. The launch of the different modules for assembly of the station, and this is access of crew and also return of the crew, and this arm is for assembly of the station, and the external vehicular activity is called EVA, and finally the research which is going on. These are in fact this cover slide is specially designed by one of my former colleagues, Mr. B. Chandrasekhar from Hassan, for us to, he had beautifully designed it. Now, the details which I am presenting here to all of you are completely in the public domain. They are from NASA, they are from YouTube, they are from various sources, and number of reports from various people, and the number of discussions I had with a lot of experts and astronauts in my international meetings. And they are all in public domain, and most importantly, this is for educational purposes, purely for educational purposes, to celebrate 20 years of continuous habitation of human beings in space. In fact, the 20 years happened in November of this year, and this broke the earlier record of Mir space station, in which the astronauts and cosmonauts were in space continuously. Mir was inhabited for, I think, about 7 days, less of 10 years. The previous record was 10 years, and this is 20 years, and we are celebrating now the 20 years of continuous human presence on board International Space Station. Now, this is the International Space Station. This weighs 420 tons, and it revolves around the earth at an altitude of 400 kilometers. And when it revolves around the earth for 400 kilometers, it takes about roughly 93 minutes to complete one revolution. That means it goes around the earth for 15 to 16 times a day. And this is the project of 5 space agencies: NASA of USA, Roscosmos of Russia. These 2 are very primarily leading agencies, and European Space Agency representing 11 European countries, and the JAXA, which is the space agency of Japan, and Canadian Space Agency, which is called CSA. So this is the project of, international project of 5 space agencies: NASA, Roscosmos, ESA, JAXA, and CSA. These 5 together have made this possible. And also, this represents 40 years of work of at least 50,000 experts in different countries. 40 years, because the space station work started in 1980, design started in 1980. Now we are in 2020. So 40 years, roughly about 50,000 to 60,000 people all over the world had worked. 40 years means practically complete working period of one generation. If you join the job, you will work effectively for 40 years. That means this had absorbed the complete one generation of work of more than 50,000-60,000 experts. It also shows how difficult it is over 40 years to track the changes, to keep the knowledge, to archive the knowledge, to pass it on to others, and to train the other people to take over. You will see all these things in the coming slides. Now, this in an abstract way, if you say what is ISS, it is high level of technology development, number 1. And number 2, it is a very effective international cooperation. And the third one is a very difficult, complex project management. These are the 3 key words: technology development, international cooperation, and project management. These three you will see as you go through the slides. Now, before we get into how International Space Station is made and put in place, a few fundamentals I have to tell you. Otherwise, it will become very difficult for you to catch up, and you start talking among yourselves if you don't understand what is going on here. Now, if this is the Earth, and if any satellite has to go around it, there will be a gravitational force continuously towards the center of the Earth. And if you give a velocity to that, and this velocity, as you know, will always generate a centrifugal force to throw outside. If you can tie a stone to a thread and rotate it, then you will feel that force. Now, every altitude above the surface of the Earth has got a specific velocity at which if you go, this centrifugal force will be exactly cancelling the gravitational force. At that time, this doesn't fall, or this doesn't come back to Earth. So it will continuously keep moving because the centrifugal force and the gravitational force will cancel each other. Of course, if the velocity comes down, then the satellite spiral back to Earth. That's why sometimes a small boost of the velocity will be required to keep it in the required orbit. Now, for 400 kilometers orbit at which space station is working, you need to develop this velocity is equal to 7.667 kilometers per second. If you are a few meters per second higher, then it will not be here. It will go higher and its velocity will further reduce and it will become elliptical orbit. So every altitude has got a specific number to the second, third decimal place. To that you have to achieve. So if you want to put any item in the orbit of Earth at 400 kilometers, that object has to be taken to that place and taken to a position which is local horizontal and to be given a velocity of 7.667 kilometers per second. And when you, of course, to give that, the launch vehicle has to generate another 200-300 meters per second more to account for the losses when it goes up. Now, the second fundamental thing is, how do you define an orbit? Because if you want to say satellite is at so and so place, it has to be there with an accuracy of milliseconds. If you have to calculate like that, you need about 5 parameters. First one is called semi-major axis, that is the ellipse's total major axis and minor axis. If you add and divide by 2, it will become semi-major axis, which is called small a. And second one is very important, which is called inclination, that is the angle this plane makes with the equator plane. That angle is called inclination. This is very important because the inclination is decided by from where you launch, that means the latitude of the launch station, and the azimuth in which, that means the direction in which you launch your launch vehicle. Suppose if the launch vehicle, if it is going like, how do you say definition of the azimuth? Azimuth is defined from the true north. From true north, if you launch, for example, if we launch towards Indonesia from Sriharikota, its azimuth will be roughly 105 degrees. Because from true north we compute. And its latitude. Both these things will together decide into which inclination it will go. And third angle is called the argument of the right ascension of the ascending node. That is, when the satellite goes in this orbit, when it is crossing the equatorial orbit from south to north, this point makes an angle with a reference line. That angle is called the right ascension of ascending node. What is this line? This line is a reference line on March 21st. It's called vernal equinox. That much language you need not have to worry. It's on March 21st of every year. If you draw a line between center of the earth and center of the sun, that is called a reference line. And that reference line to this ascending node is called capital omega. And the another angle is from this point, when you come to perigee, that is the lowest distance from the earth, what is the angle? This angle. It is called the perigee, argument of perigee it's called. It's also another angle. And the very important thing is eccentricity. Eccentricity is how big is this ellipse. If eccentricity is 0, it will become circular orbit. Okay? And now, all the satellites in the world, when they are kept around the earth, they are put in 3 types of orbits. One orbit is equatorial orbit. That means the satellite will be launched into an orbit normally used for all the communication satellites which transmit all your DTH and TVs and other things. This is called, actually this is put exactly above the equator at a 35,786 kilometers with inclination 0 or because it is in the same plane, and also eccentricity is 0 because it is circular. The second type of orbits are polar orbits, that is they move from south pole to north pole around the earth, which are normally in the low earth orbit, and they are used for remote sensing. This is for communication, this is for remote sensing. And there are third type of orbits which are inclined to the equator plane at an angle, and that angle is called inclination angle. And normally till now in the world, all the space station is nothing but a station which revolves around the earth in which people can work. It's a flying laboratory. So the space stations of the world till now are all in the low earth orbits of the altitude of about 400 kilometers and inclined at some angle, normally between 25 to about 51 degrees. Now, what happens on the humans? Actually, in the human space missions, the weakest links are human beings. Because when you fly in an aircraft, you fly in the range of 8 to 9 kilometers of altitude above the earth. Then itself the cabin is sealed because outside pressure will be low and temperature will be low. Normally at the altitude at which you fly in the aircraft, the outside temperature will be around -5 to -8 degrees centigrade and the pressure will be low. But if you go up, if you go to 15 kilometers of altitude, then the pressure will be so low that the boiling point will be not be 100 degrees centigrade, it will be only 37 degrees centigrade. So everything starts boiling. Then if you go 19 kilometers above, air pressure is practically nil outside and it will start affecting your body fluids because body is inside having pressure. And then above 25 kilometers, you definitely need a hermetically sealed cabin. Of course, there is one set of people who do not use this, that is the Air Force bomber pilots who fly around 25-30, but they wear a suit in which they are supplied all the pressure, air to breathe and other things, which you normally see in the films. That is why for all these space stations, the suit requirements and suit designs have come from the Air Force pilot suits. And above 120 kilometers, you will have a problem of meteor hits, and above 200 kilometers, weightlessness starts. What is weightlessness? Weightlessness means about 200 kilometers, if you take the people, normally below 200 kilometers, if you put anything, any satellite into orbit, it will start slowly coming down because the outside density is more and it starts giving the drag force. So anything, if you want to put it in orbit for a long time, you should go about 200 kilometers. So if you take the people to about 200 kilometers and stop the engines, from that time onwards, weightlessness starts. Weightlessness can be defined in two ways. As already I told you, the moment you go into an orbit with correct velocity, your centrifugal force and your gravity force cancel each other, so you are free flying body. Another way you can define, you can also draw a line at which you are a tangent, and if you calculate with the trigonometry, you can say if you reach 7.9 kilometers per second local horizontal velocity, then you will, because of the gravity, you will start falling about 4.9 meters per second. 4.9 meters per second, and this at the same time in the 1 second you will also see the Earth's curvature that much falling. So if the people who are in the space station go out and start working, they feel as if they are continuously falling but falling nowhere, because the Earth also will be, Earth's surface also will be falling at the same rate. It's called continuous fall. This, anyway you can explain. Basically what it means is, in the space the conditions are not like on the surface of the Earth, and you start floating. And when you start floating, when you start working, what happens will be covered in the later sections. Now, there is also a, for the humans to survive in the space, you must maintain the equal balance of temperature, oxygen and pressure. This is very important. And sea level atmosphere, the best thing what the people found out is, it's better you put the space station with the same conditions as sea level atmosphere. That means same level of pressure, same level of combination of oxygen and nitrogen, and use that atmosphere and keep the people in their normal dress. That is the best way to maintain a space station. So if you are in space for a long time, what will happen is, as I told you, you start floating, because our legs will bear our weight, because we trained them right from the beginning how they should take the load. But once you are in the space, it will not be. So you start, your bones start weakening, your muscle atrophy happens, cardiovascular rhythm will start changing, and the blood started flowing more to the head. And in fact, one of the recent findings, not recent, okay, a few decades back finding is, even your spinal cord will expand by about 3%. So what happens is, in the space when you are floating, a relaxed body position is not like this. Relaxed body position will be like this. A human being will be like this always in the space. You will see when you see the videos of the astronauts. This is very important. You should see relaxed position or neutral position. Neutral position of a human being in the space is not vertical, because of the mass distribution on the body and the adjustments to the microgravity. It will be like this. Okay. Now one important thing is, what do the people need there? Because this is very important, because here we go, take the tap, open the tap, take the water, or open the bottle and take the water and eat food, whatever we want. But what do you need there? The people need a minimum of 3 to 3.5 kg of water for drinking, food and water in the food. Means in some of the foods or some of the vegetables you will find water. So these three things put together is 3.5 kg water per day per astronaut. But if you take hygiene and washing, this is important. If you take hygiene and washing, every astronaut needs 25 kg of water, 25 liters of water per day, because that is the large requirement. And then what do the people do? They breathe in about 0.84 kg of oxygen. 0.84 kg of oxygen is required per person per day. And they exhale 1 kg of carbon dioxide. These are the important things which we must understand to keep the astronauts safe and maintain their health. First of all, if you take a person and put him in the space and not provide all these things, it is going to be out. Your mission is going to be out. That is not your aim. So you have to sustain them. To sustain them, you have to take them. And as I already told you, you have to keep the cabin pressurized. When you keep the cabin pressurized, same as the sea level pressure, all of you must be knowing, 101.3 kPa, or if you like to talk in terms of KSC, 1 KSC, 1 bar we say, or 14.7 psi. and its composition is 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, and all other trace gases will be about 0.5%. The most important of this is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide in the sea level, its composition is only 0.03%. But what the space people have found is even if the carbon dioxide concentration goes up to 1%, up to 30 days, the astronauts will not be affected. But if it goes to 2%, after 30 days, they become very, very fatigued, and they cannot work, and they get constant headaches, and they will not be effective. So the carbon dioxide must be removed continuously. That means if there are 6 people in the space station, every day they will give out 6 kg of carbon dioxide, which has to be removed continuously. That's what it means. And there is one more thing. When you put the cabin sealed at 1 atmosphere pressure, and if the people have to go out and do extravehicular activity, that means go out and start doing in the space some work, which is essential for a space station like this, because it has to be assembled in space. So then what happens is, if at the suit what they wear, if it is at the sea level pressure, it will be very rigid. You can't bend your hand, you can't take anything, it will be very rigid. So you have to keep at a very low pressure. So roughly about 0.3 atmosphere it is put, about 30 kilopascals, or some Russian ones are at 40 kilopascals. I mean, Russian and US are at 30 kilopascal or 40 kilopascal compared to what it is in the cabin. Now, when these astronauts have to go out, they have to wear the suit and adjust their pressure to about 30 kilopascals, which is 0.3 atmospheric pressure, and go out. This change from sea level pressure to low pressure is a big challenge every designer has to take care. Because if you have to be flexible enough, you have to be having low pressure. And you can't use the same sea level pressure. But if you use that, what happens is, inside the body, you have a lot of nitrogen, which you have inhaled. That nitrogen at a low pressure start bubbling from the blood, from the tissues, from everything, and it starts even affecting, and sometimes even the veins will break, and it will be fatal. So to avoid that, what they do is, if an astronaut has to go outside the space and work, he has to first be separated, and in that place he has to breathe in continuously oxygen for some time, pure oxygen, not oxygen nitrogen mix like the normal air what we are doing. 100% oxygen he has to breathe in, and breathe out the nitrogen with every breathe out for maybe 4, 5 or 6 hours. I mean, it depends upon the type of activity, how long he has to work and other things. Then they will be sent out. So this is called decompression phenomena. So to avoid decompression, you must have the pre-breathing, and this decompression sickness is very dangerous, and it has to be tackled by anybody for the human being. Now there is also one more thing, that every human being, because he or she takes the food in, oxygen in, they also generate heat. We are not knowing, but each of us generate roughly about 150 watts per day of the heat. That heat has to be removed there, because they are separately in a sealed cabin. Here atmosphere runs, and there will be convection, there will be radiation, there will be conduction, everything will be there, so the heat goes. But there you have to remove the heat. This is another important point. These are a few fundamentals which you must know before we get into the task of what it means. Why I am saying all this is, only when you know these things, you will understand how difficult it is to take an element, go to the orbit at the required altitude, put it in the orbit, and start operating on it. Okay? Now this is the International Space Station. Now we will come to International Space Station and its configuration. Now this work started in 1980. 1980 onwards, about 10 years, US was working on space station after they after they started launching space shuttles. Design work of space shuttle is over. So they started working on the International Space Station, but mostly it remained on paper. And in 1993, they got a great opportunity to work with USSR, former USSR, because USSR got into the financial troubles and getting disintegrated. Then the USA thought that they can bring in Russia into the project. Russians had already got excellent experience on space stations because they built Salyut and they built Mir and they are designed already Mir 2 and they are about to go for a big space station. US wanted to capitalize on that. So this configuration evolved. It evolved after the discussions between Russians and US in 1994. But it took up to 1998 for the other partners like ESA, JAXA and the Canadian Space Agency to accept Russians as partners in this project. So finally, in 1998, the agreement was signed. And in this agreement, after the agreement is signed, this configuration is finalized. Two important points on this you should note on the configuration is, this side is called Russian Orbital Segment, ROS. This part is called US Orbital Segment. And to the US Orbital Segment, ESA and JAXA elements get hitched on. And this is also US. This whole beam and the power generation is also belongs to US. Whereas this portion, Russian portion, uses its own power, but also it uses this power. So basically, even though they have arrived at an agreement to combinedly work on this space station, it had taken them quite some time to agree on the configuration, but basically it was on the strength of Russian designs. Now, these are the technical specifications of the International Space Station as it is today. Its mass is 400 and, as I told you, 417 it shows, but 419 tons. A few tons, this is that way it changes, whether when you have added propellant or whether you have given water to the people or whether you have taken some food to the astronauts and other things. So, 419 tons. Integrated truss structure is 109 meters. That is, this truss structure length is 109 meters. And 109 meters means 300 feet. Okay? And this solar panel length from this end to this end is 73 meters. And this length is 50 meters. This end to this end is 50 meters. So this is 50 meter, this is 73 meter, this is 109 meter, and it contains 87 modules interconnected, flying as a single rigid body, generating something like 125 kilowatts of power. And then it is, most important thing is it works at 407 kilometers altitude above the earth. It orbits the earth at an inclination of 51.6 degrees. Why this 51.6 degrees is, normally whatever US does, from the US if it launches, its launch location is very near to 25 degrees latitude. So it will get normally 28 degrees the inclination. Whereas the Russian Cosmodrome, which is in Kazakhstan, which is called Baikonur, is at a latitude of 45.6 degrees north. So from 45.6 degrees north, if you launch at an azimuth, avoiding things falling on the inhabited places, you will get 51.6 degrees. So this is the conditions Russians have put, because their technology is available on hand. They have the systems on hand. They had the experience. They said, if you want, you take this. So US and others had to take it. Mainly US had to take it. What is its implication? Because if US launches its space shuttle and it goes into its normal inclination, it can put 25 tons into orbit. But if it has to go into 51.6 degrees, same space shuttle can take only 20 tons, 5 tons less. So that compromise the US had to do. So finally, it's a 470 or 419 tons of space station at an altitude of 407 kilometer, at an inclination of 51.6 degrees, and its atmosphere inside is 1 atmosphere sea level, that is 101.36 kilopascals, and it has got what it has got with all these things, and solar arrays of 72.8 meters, and these solar arrays have generate 240 kilowatts of peak power when sun directly looks at them, but they generate on average power 84 to 120 kilowatts, and that power is processed and supplied to all the elements. And with all these things, there are 6 pressurized laboratories, big specialized laboratories in which 6 astronauts can work effectively and do the research. Now, what are the unique features? First thing is its time phase development. Time phase development means the moment you take the space station starts building, you take the first crew, you have to make the next launch before their water, oxygen and food is exhausted. You can't delay it because the people are there without food, without water, without oxygen. So it's a time phase development. You cannot have, I will do the research, I will publish the papers, then I will see whether I can take the people or I can send the launch to the space station. You can't do that. If you do that, people will die there. Okay? So it's a time phase development. And second thing is, it is physically integrated in the field because there is no launch vehicle, there is no launch system which can take 419 tons of the space station in that complex configuration and put it in orbit. So it has to be taken piece by piece. It has to be assembled there by the people. In the space, in the microgravity, when they are flying, you will see all these things what I am telling you. Very, very good part of NASA is to provide excellent videos taken in space at 400 kilometers. What is happening in space station and around space station. You will see in all these 3 lectures these videos. Now, it is built, the modules are built in USA, in Russia, in Japan and in European countries. Companies like Boeing, Nikimash, Krindyshev and Elenia in Europe, all these places and the Canadian Space Center, all these places they are making. So, it is actually built around the world. It's not only individual modules are built around the world, space station is assembled literally around the world while it is moving. Okay? And if any part of the ISS, if you put it in orbit, it must work as a spacecraft. What does it mean? If it should work as a spacecraft means every spacecraft has got 6 subsystems. Every person who works in the space department knows it. That is called power, propulsion, structures, AOCS, communications, and the thermal. So these 6 must be done. In addition, because this is outside assembly is involved, the life support, environmental control, and the extravehicular activity related things also have to be added. So every element which you take there should have all these 6 plus 3, 9 subsystems, and they all must be functioning. And totally to build the whatever space station I had shown you, 87 flight elements were required and 44 assembly flights spread over 13 years. It was originally planned 1998 to 2004. 6 years they will complete the space station, and they thought it will cost around $18 billion for construction and $13 billion for 10-year operation. But finally, ultimately, when they completed it, it took 13 years from 1998 to 2011, and it costed them $100 billion. $100 billion means 7 lakh crore rupees. 7 lakh crore rupees over 10 years, and that means every year 70,000 crores, and 60% of it is spent by US. That is why US has got upper hand. US, all the committees, all the boards which control the space station are chaired by NASA. Chairman is always NASA. And in the committee, if these 5 people, NASA, Roscosmos, ESA, JAXA and CSA, if they do not agree on any point, chairman of the committee has got the power to take the decision. That is one part of it. And second part of it is they thought the International Space Station will be operational about 15 years if they had finished 5 years construction, but it took up to 2011, and they are all in healthy, because some of the subsystems are 15 years life only, but they are working well, and some of them they are replacing. So they have now extended life up to 2024 officially, and they may extend up to 2030. And it costed, as I told you, it also it costed $100 billion and 60% coming from USA. And mission control centers for the whole International Space Station are at 2 places. One is at Moscow, other one it is Houston. Even though it is an international agreement of 5 space agencies perfectly working, you should also know among the 5, the 2 are big brothers, Russia and US, and they maintain their own separate things. And the all the Russian space segment is 100% used by Russians only. And the US uses 97% of its space segment, and 47% of the Japanese and European space agencies space assets. Canada, because it has given the big arm, which is called the space arm, for that they demanded 3% of the time of the research facilities, which the US and the Japanese and the Europeans give it to Canada for their work. Now, the first module was launched in 1998, and it is continuously operational from 2nd November 2000. And if you see, ISS has got 2 bathrooms and a gym facility and a 360 degrees observation bay, and 2 Soyuz spacecraft, each can take 3 people down to Earth in case of any emergency, are always connected to space station. So in case there is an emergency, the 6 astronauts, 3 each can get into the Soyuz, separate it and start back to the Earth. Now this is the exploded view of the ISS. As you know, engineers are always have affinity towards exploded views, because exploded views give you how to, what are the implications, what are the interfaces, what is the design deficiencies, everything. Now, this is the Russian portion. It's called Zarya, Zvezda, and the radiators. And this portion is called Russian orbital segment. This portion, which is called Node 1, Node 2, Node 3, and the Destiny Laboratory, and the multi-purpose module, this is called US orbital station. To the US orbital station, the Japanese on one side and the Europeans on the other side are connected. And this is the integrated structure. It's called integrated truss structure, and this integrated truss structure will support the power generation solar power plants, and these solar panels are connected to this. And each of them are taken, there is an assembly audio which will be coming to you. You carefully observe how it was coming. Only thing is, because this is a 2-plane diagram of 3-plane situation, there is a 3rd plane which is coming out, is not proper. Actually, this truss will not be here. This truss will be connected over this. So physically it will be like this. So this much will be behind and this much will be forward. So this is truss structure to show clearly it is put here, but it comes on the top of this like this. Okay. Now this is the Russian orbital segment, which has got three major elements: the Zvezda, Zarya, Zvezda, and the Pirs and Pyosk, and the mini research module. This much is their facility. Now, quickly to go, the Zarya is the first module which is launched by the Proton launch vehicle in 1998, and it has got 19.3 tons mass, and it is taken by Proton launch vehicle, and it has got about 12.6, 13 meter long and 4.1 meter dia. Always these diameters are limited by the launch vehicle which carries it, what type of shroud it can take. And then it has engines, it generates 3 kilowatts of power. But what happened was all these fuel tanks are outside, purposely they are built. And then the US immediately followed it up with a Unity module, which has got a laboratory and a pressurized mating module, and which is connected. This has got very important thing, because this gives lot of connections between the Russian modules and the remaining space station, because it connects something like 337 connections across its length, 216 connections for liquids, gases, and 126 cables for electrical connections. That means through the Unity module, the Russian systems will supply to the rest of the systems, and if required from the US it supplies to the Russian systems. And both the emergency vacating Soyuz modules are connected to the Russian system. So the people have to walk through this to get into. Now this is the one which is called Zarya, which is our FGB. In our language it's FGB. This is another confusion. If you read the documents, you will find sometimes Zarya, sometimes FGB. This is FGB, and this is the Unity module, which has got a laboratory plus the pressurized attachment. And now immediately after that, another satellite which is weighing about 15 tons, but launched by again Proton from Russia. It is 13 meter long, it is 25 tons at liftoff. A Proton only can do this size, okay, to this inclination. If it is 28.3, shuttle can do. And this provides living quarters for 2 people, because the allotment is like that. Allotment out of 6 cosmonauts is 2 will always be from Russia. And 2 people, and it has got the refrigerators, it has got oxygen generating system, and it has got water, and it provides the exercising equipment. It has got toilets for these 2 people, sleeping places for these 2 people. So once this is connected, all the engines of Zarya were disconnected, and it cannot operate, and it will only, Zarya will work as this is Zvezda, and this is Zarya, and this is Unity module. Earlier this had come into orbit, then this is connected, then this is connected. Once this is connected, this is used only as the supply or storage of the propellant, oxygen, water, and other gases. So whenever things come, they get attached to this, and through these connections everything they fill up here. And this is basically the Russian segment. Now the Destiny Lab of US, it has arrived, it is made of aluminum. It's about 15 tons mass, and there are 18 payload racks. It went with 5, and another 13 are added, and they concentrate on the all experiments and science, because power is separately coming as ITS. Now this is the lab. Actually, because everything floats in the space, the racks can be assembled wherever you want. You can see on the top rack is there. Inside here the equipments are there. Here also racks are there. Here equipments are there. So all these things are racks with equipments where you can work on the ceiling, you can work on the floor, you can work towards the walls. There is nothing like you have to work only like this, like on the earth. That is the advantage. And now the Russian side has also connected Pierce docking system. This is again about 4-ton mass, but basically it provides space for putting the suits, putting on the suits and going out to work. Of course, before going out, you have to pressurize it about 40 kilopascals, and you have to do the pre-breathing and then go out and work. Now this is how it looks, and this is where the people will be. It will be attached to that, and if they have to do for spacewalk, they have to come here, close here, do the pre-breathing of pure oxygen for about 4 to 5 hours, then open this hatch, go out, and then work in the space. Of course, every time you are attached, the astronauts are every time attached to the space station so that they will not fly away. The moment the connection is broken, they can fly away, and it is very difficult to get them back. All these things you will see in the videos. Now the multipurpose laboratory module also is added. Now this is a very important thing. This is the Canadian contribution. They are experts in the arms because they have supplied the robotic arm on the space shuttle. So it has got 3 elements. One is this, which is called mobile service base. It moves on the rails of the integrated truss structure from one end to other end. 100 meters it moves, and it has got 17-meter long arm with 7 degrees of freedom, which can take, of course, 125 tons it can lift and take. And there is another one which is 3.5 meter with 2 arms which can hold anything and then keep it wherever you want. Okay, this can be operated from ground, this can be operated from inside the space station remotely, and this can be operated by the astronauts who go out and stand on this. If you want to see here in this picture, this is the animation, sorry, and in this you can see a shuttle approaching, so that this will go and takes this out. But I will show you another one. Here you can see at the end of this is actual picture. At the end of the arm, a person is standing, an astronaut is standing in his spacesuit and trying to take the things. Now this is the Quest airlock of US orbital section, through which again similar way from the Russian Pierce and Payarsk, only astronauts can go out with the Russian spacesuit. But from the Quest system of USA, either you can wear the Russian spacesuit or US spacesuit and go out and work. And now this is the Columbus module made by European countries together, and this is carried out, and this is taken on the space shuttle, and then the arm, actually this doesn't dock, some of them docks. All Russian things when they go, they dock there. Or if it's space shuttle, it goes and docks. But all other things cannot dock. So it has taken as a cargo in the space shuttle, and the arm takes it out and puts it wherever it is required, and then people go and tighten the nuts and bolts and whatever required, or take it out and put it in some other place. Now this is Columbus sorry. This is the this is the one part of this is US lab Destiny. To the end of it there is a node, and to that node one side is the Columbus European lab and the other side is Japanese lab and the Japanese external facility. This is the biggest facility of the Japan. And Japanese facility is a very big one, about 15 tons when it is empty, and total 23 racks can be assembled. And now this is the one which you can show this. Now there is another one which is called Cupola, which is built by Italy, ESA's contribution. A astronaut can float in the middle of it, and all through the windows he can see what is happening. Either some docking or some experiment or extravehicular activity, everything he can see. Now we will quickly go to computers. There are about 52 computers in the ISS, all of them with radiation hardened 386 chips. And all the station operations software is about 5 million lines code, and 5 million means 50 lakh lines code written in ADA language, tested on the ground, tested on board. In addition, the IBM Lenovo ThinkBook laptops are provided to all the astronauts to do their work. Of course, these laptops have got a fan system, because here it will be cool, but there it will not be cool to to dissipate the heat. So the COTS IBM Lenovo is used. Now this is the integrated truss structure. On this integrated truss structure, you will see normally port side and starboard side it is defined. If in the direction of the travel, on the left is port, on the right is starboard. This is the convention used by Navy everywhere. So the same convention they are using. This is the direction of travel of the space station, and this side is the port side, this side is starboard side. And these are so many elements, each of them has to be brought, which you will see in the animation very shortly. Now this integrated truss structure, this mass is 118 tons, and this 118 tons has also got the big alpha joint, so that the solar panels track the sun to generate the power. This is the International Space Station. Can you play this? This shows how it is assembled. One interesting thing you will see here is a part of the solar panels is brought beforehand and assembled at the third launch itself. Afterwards, it will be relocated to one end, you will see. This is the Destiny Lab of USA. And this is the thrust airlock which I told you, from which you can do, astronauts can do EVS. And now the integrated thrust structure, as I told you, it is sitting on this. It started building up, and the solar panels will come here. And the solar panels create a lot of heat that will be radiated out through big radiator panels, through which the ammonia is circulated. Ammonia liquid is circulated to take away the heat. Now you see the solar panel. Now this is removed. It will come and it will be assembled at this place. Now this Columbus is being assembled. GEM, that is the Japanese module, and then this will be relocated there, and after that the external facility will be added. Now you see S6 and P6 will be assembled. Sorry, P6 is already assembled. Okay. The last one to be assembled is here. It's called the alpha magnetic spectrometer, which is the one which will detect the dark matter in the universe. You will see here timeline also. It is passing as it is done. Now as you see, each element which is just coming in the animation, coming and getting attached, means lot of work. It has to be built on the ground. It has to be tested on the ground. Wait. It has to be tested on, no, go back. Okay, keep it there, okay? Keep it at the end. Okay, it has to be tested on the ground. It has to be launched by big launch vehicles, which can take 19 to 20 to 25 tons to space. It has to dock to the existing system, and the astronauts have to go out, walk, and assemble the system, attach it, again test it for the leaks or test it for the electrical continuities, and they should not do any mistakes. If they do one mistake, either they will be at risk or others will be at the risk, and all this is involved in this assembly. What in this animation is shown to you is 13 years of work of 60,000 people in 15 countries, and every moment being a risky thing, every launch being a risky thing. Okay, you can go to the next. Now, this is what I told you. This portion which will be at this end was initially brought and assembled here, then disconnected here, all in space. And this is folded back, and this is disconnected, taken and connected at this end, and again deployed. That is the complexity of this station. Now you will, this is the space station. How inside the astronaut will do work, you will see now. You will see Sunita Williams, whom we call Indian, but she says she is Sunny Williams.
I'm up here on the
using
International Space Station. So this is Node 2. This is a really cool module. Of course, most of these modules you'll see they have 4 sides, and they're put together. That way we could sort of work on a flat plane, either a wall, a floor, another wall, or the ceiling. But you know, again, all you have to do is turn yourself and your reference changes. The reason I'm bringing that up is because this is where 4 out of 6 of us sleep. And so people always ask about sleeping in space. Do you lie down? Are you in a bed? Not really, because it doesn't matter. You don't really have the sensation of lying down. You just sit in your sleeping bag. So here's one sleep station right here. I'm going in right now. You can follow me if you want. So I'm inside. It's sort of like a little phone booth, but it's pretty comfy. I've got a sleeping bag right here that we sleep in, so we don't have sort of like a little bit of a cover. We don't fly all over the place. But you know, you can sleep in any orientation. I have it sleeping, feeling like I'm standing up right now, but like you saw, I'm on the floor. But it doesn't matter if I turn over and I sleep upside down. I can't have it. I don't have any sensation in my head that tells me that I'm upside down, so it really doesn't matter. The sleep station is also like a little office. We've got a computer in here. As you can see, we've got a couple little toys. I've got some books. I've got some clothes and other things that make it sort of like home. I'm coming out. And just for reference, that's one sleep station. This one's another. Right here. There's one on the ceiling, if you want to call it. Right here. And then there's a 4th on the other wall over here. So all of us sleep in a little bit of a circle. All right, come on back. There's more to show you. I know that there's some questions about how to use the bathroom and how do you actually live in space like normal, like at home. I mentioned real quickly about getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth and washing your face. Well, how do you do that? Well, here is the bathroom essentially. You get up in the morning and we have a little kit, and it has all the essential things that you need, like your toothbrush and toothpaste and brush. See how much better the brush makes my hair look? I'm just joking. It still stands up straight. It doesn't matter where you are. It's always going to stand up straight while you're up in space. A lot of people ask about toothbrush and toothpaste. So, luckily enough, toothpaste, you can do it upside right this way, is sticky, and so it sticks to your toothbrush, no problem. Another cool thing is that water sticks to your toothbrush too. If you can see it, I'll have some water come out. And water is pretty neat up in space. It'll stick to your toothbrush, and it will make a big bubble. And that's just by surface tension. And then you can drink it. So a lot of people ask about what do you do with the toothpaste after you brush your teeth. Two options. Swallow it, and it's sort of like mouthwash, but it tastes a little gross. Or you can just spit it out in a paper towel, and then you don't have to worry about it. Swallowing thing I wouldn't recommend at home. I'm only up here for 4 months, so it's not that bad. One of the most pressing questions about living in space, of course, is the bathroom. So let's take a look at that little piece of work. Come on in. Here we are at the throne. This is awesome. You might see the little, you might have noticed the little moon on the outside. This is our orbital outhouse right here. And of course, it serves for two functions. Number 2, right here. I'll show you. But you see it's pretty small, so you have to have pretty good aim, and you be ready to make sure things get let go the right direction. And it smells a little bit, so I'm closing it up. And that's of course for number 2. And this guy right here is for number 1. So they're sort of two slightly separate functions, but you can do a little, essentially both, by hanging on right here and doing number 1 and number 2. I might add it's color-coded, so you really don't get it mixed up, which is nice. This is yellows for number 1. And also, there's a selection of paper. People always ask about toilet paper. What do you do with toilet paper? What kind of toilet paper do you have? We have gloves just because sometimes it does get messy. We have some Russian wipes, which are a little bit coarse if you like the coarse type of toilet paper. We have some nice tissues, which are nice and soft if you like soft toilet paper. We have Huggies, just for any cleanup. You know, we were all babies once, and this sort of helps. And then if things get really out of control, we have disinfectant wipes, just to make sure we clean up here. Because, you know, just like the water I showed you, the number 1 stuff can sort of go all over the place if you don't aim correctly. And did I mention both of these have a little bit of suction, so they should keep things going in the right direction. But like I said, sometimes things get a little out of control if you are out of control yourself flying around. So we have lots of protective stuff. And of course, you do have your privacy. Here's a little door, so other people know that you're in there. Here's a pretty cool place. This is sort of like in your house where everybody meets in the morning. After you wash your face, brush your teeth, you want to find something for breakfast. And this is our kitchen. You might notice there's all sorts of foods here. It's like opening the refrigerator. You got all your different stuff that you want to have: drinks, meats, eggs, vegetables, cereals, bread, snacks. And that's a good place. That's where you find all the candy. Side dishes, and then some little power bars just in case. So we have all this type of food. Some of it is dehydrated, and so we have to hydrate it, fill it up with water. Some of it is already made, and then all we have to do is heat it up. So something like this, I'm pulling out barbecued beef brisket. Pretty yummy. not only is this food made in the U.S., but we also have food here from Japan. We've got Russian food. As you can see, all these red containers are filled with food that's from Russia. And then we get some of our specialty stuff, some things that we like, some of our favorite stuff that your family can send up. In fact, I like fluffernutters, and so I got sent up some fluff so I could make my fluffernutter with peanut butter. So you have a lot of food up here, no problems.
Now, this is the International Space Station. I repeat, as I told you, I don't normally repeat, but seeing all the faculty who repeat, I am repeating. 420 tons of space station, built in orbit, over 13 years, rotating around the Earth at 15 or 16 orbits per day at an altitude of 400 kilometers, and with 6 astronauts continuously staying, and the astronauts started staying in 2002 onwards, from 2000 onwards. It's now 20 years. Initially it was 2 astronauts, and later it is increased to 3, then later it is increased to 6. Now 6 astronauts from 2009 onwards continuously staying, and they do their functions, they work, and they do lot of research, and then all that results are available to us on the ground. This is what is the International Space Station. You have now heard part 1 of it. What is its configuration? What does it consist of? How does it work? Now, in the next 2 lectures, I will show you what type of launch vehicles and what type of launches are required to take this and make this assembly. And also, afterwards, in the part 3, the crew, how they are trained on the ground, how they work and what do they work, what type of research. In the second part and third part, you will see more videos, all from NASA and other space agencies, of things happening at 400 kilometers away from the surface of the Earth, in day in and day out. Okay, and this is the great International Space Station with 3 keywords which I told you: technology development, international cooperation, and complex project management. Now, I really specially thank NASA and YouTube for all these details, and lot of reading. Actually, my reading of over 30 years I put together in these 3 lectures, utilizing the lockdown period to reread and refresh myself. And Mr. Ravindranath, one of my former colleagues, who was the former chief librarian in many ISRO centers, provided me a large number of valuable references. And my another former colleague, Mr. B. Chandrasekhar, who is working in Master Control Facility Hassan, had designed all these special slides and selected the videos which will be appropriate. I told him only 2 things. It should be very good for people who do not know about the space systems, and it should be educative for the space professionals, both. And he has selected all of them and sent. I really thank them, and also Vijnan team for providing all the support and making these lectures happen. And if you come and listen to tomorrow and day after tomorrow, with these 3 lectures, you will get a first cut idea about International Space Station and what is achieved by these 5 space agencies in the last 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and it's a fantastic lecture, and I think all the students are following very clearly, and it's totally 100% related to all branches of engineering. That's why we invited all the students of all the branches, because everything is involved, including biotechnology to computer science. So all branches of engineering students are very much interestingly, they have to participate, and the next coming 2 lectures are also more valuable to get an idea how to become a very good technical engineer. Thank you so much. Now
Any questions? Very quickly, if you have any questions, because
Now it is the time for
somebody
questions.
there, and it's 4:20. Your buses will start what time? 5 o'clock. So up to 4:45, 20 minutes we can have question answers. Tomorrow I'll try to control the time and close it at 4:30. Okay.
Good evening, sir. This is Shekhar from Final Year Food Technology. Sir, it seems very good listening about ISS. So what my doubt is that, being that prestigious, India is one of the top country now in the space technology after having testimony of mom. Of course, not complete successfully. What's stopping India being into ISS? ISS means either it is the Nehruvian principle of non-alignment or sovereignty in the constitution, or the technology that we have, or a thought of technological theft. What might be stopping India to enter into the ISS? Recently, Honorable Chief KC1 have said it, eloquently, that India want its own space station in the 2019. So, is that much budget that we have to have our own space station?
Okay. To answer, see, nothing of the reasons what you mentioned matter. When the Cold War enemies of USA and former USSR can come together for the cooperation, and 11 European countries which have brought the world to the brink with 2 world wars can come together and build up space systems, anybody can cooperate. It's only a question of capability. What can you contribute? What capability you have? Maybe they thought, and if they are correct, we do not have anything to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You can ask questions, don't hesitate, because every question looks silly only. Okay, I myself asked many silly questions.
Hello, good evening, sir. So, VC sir is mentioning that the space station is used for research, is far away from human habitation. What type of research do they use, particularly other than the communication development? If the communication development, why not we do at the ground level? Why it has to be done at the space level?
Yeah, right. You come, if you are free, you come and attend the 3rd lecture. There are videos on the what type of research is being done, different type of experiments of doing certain things at near 0 Kelvin temperature, and on the plant growths, and on the biotechnology, and also on the human medical experiments. There are number of fields which I have not covered here, which will be coming in the 3rd lecture, along with the crew and crew activities. Okay.
Sir, we have a question from people watching it online.
Yeah. Right.
Mr. Vinod Kumar Srivatsava would like to know
how
the thrusters are fired to keep the ISS in orbit.
Yeah, the Mr. Srivatsava, I'm nice to have a question from you. Incidentally, Mr. Srivatsava was the Chief Safety Officer of Sriharikota for more than 40 years, and it is to his credit that not a single major accident has happened in Sriharikota, even though we had more than 70 launches from there, handling hundreds and hundreds of tons of propellant. He is asked this question. Okay. Mr. Srivatsava, the thrusters, what is there? If you want to control first the reduction of the orbit of the space station, it is every day a space station altitude will reduce from 0.18 kilometers to 0.28 kilometers. That means something like 0.2 kilometers on average. In a month it will come down by 6 kilometers. So you have to push it up. For pushing it up, initially they used to do operations once every month. Nowadays it's being done once in a quarter. And for doing these operations, for 1 year, they need 7.5 tons of propellant. 7.5 tons of propellant with 2 into 2.3 tons engines of Zvezda module will fire to push it up whenever it's coming down. That is one type. Second type of movement of the space station other than the regular orbiting is when something is coming and from the ground they detect that it will come and hit the space station, they have to avoidance maneuver they have to do. Take away the space station either direction or up. For that there are about 36 thrusters on the Zvezda module. All the control and all the altitude and attitude control thrusters are only on the Russian Zvezda module. And those things are fired to rotate the space station. And because the space station is very rigid, practically rigid, without any flexibility, there will not be any problem. But because of the asymmetry in the configuration, sometimes when the thrusters are fired, there will be, if you want to rotate it in pitch or yaw or roll, in the other attitudes also get disturbed. So the compensators which are used are very high order. Sometimes something like 100 order compensators are used to see that the required attitude change only takes place. But all of them are only in Zvezda module, and Zvezda module slide, even though I have not mentioned it, all these number of thrusters and their sizing is given there. Thank you. Anybody from the students? You don't have a question even on Sunny Williams' life of living there? Okay. Right. If there are no questions, we will conclude this session. Thank you very much. You want to conclude or what?
Thank you very much, sir. A wonderful lecture. I request all the students, please attend for next 2 days lectures also. You will get benefit out of it. On behalf of our university faculty and students, thank you, sir. Thank you for delivering an excellent lecture.
And tell your friends also to listen these lectures either through online or by coming here, because it will be useful to them. And I am very sure they will not get this type of lecture anywhere else in the nearby area.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
We request all the students to leave from the rear entrance. All the boys can leave from the rear entrance.